shelf.
Hey, my name is Paul and Sarah.
This is Amy, and we're talking about Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. And the exciting thing about this book that we were talking about before we started recording is that it's a setting that we're familiar with.
UNC Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
UNC Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So that's always exciting to see. I personally love fantasy novels that have settings that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, just as a whole different type of magic and allure to a local spot.
No, it definitely does. It kind of makes a place that is like kind of typical to us every day and makes it kind of special, which is fun. So we have some great topics that we want to talk about with this book. And we're definitely going to make our way through the series. As you guys can see back here, I do have all 3 books and a fun little sword moment. Big fan.
If we're talking about like Arthurian legends and riffs on it, then a sword really helps. Or mini Excalibur over there.
Mini Excalibur. Kind of worked out. Happy accident. Was not on purpose, but I will take it. So
the newest Legendborn series is out now. Just recent this month.
Oathbound is out now. The second book is Bloodmarked, and I believe it's going to be a 4-book series.
Oh man, that's it. We're just blowing the trilogy. We don't do trilogies anymore. It's just like 4s, 5s, 6s.
Yes.
Keep going.
Keep going. Keep me in a world as long as you will have me.
Trilogies, last decade.
Definitely. Who needs a trilogy anymore? Like, just keep it going.
And plan on the trilogy. I think it's like a pitching incentive when the author's pitching the agent. Like, it's going to be a trilogy. It's like, all right, we can turn it into 4 books if it gets successful.
Yes. We can make this happen. We can really build on these characters. Sometimes I think, because I've talked to a number of authors, and it's almost like the characters have life in the story. And sometimes I think they take it further because it's like the creativeness just kind of keeps going.
I mean, they're living inside my imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I definitely consult my characters with my life decisions.
Yes. We consult our alter egos and these different characters that we have. So it makes sense. I could easily see it. Like whenever I think both of us see books similarly when we're reading them. I think both of us, because it's like a movie in your mind, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently that's not everybody.
Oh, that's, it's funny. Like I always hate when they put the character into like an actual person, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not how I envisioned them, but I imagine like other people didn't envision them that way. So,
right.
Like, don't go ruining it with like a realistic rendition or rendering of the character.
So let me live with who I have created in my mind. Thank you.
That's right. So Legendborn, the whole series, fantasy series that brings in the Arthurian legend, overlaps it with some root craft as a quick summation of the book. We're following the main character, Bree.
Yes, following the end. So we definitely want to touch on, I loved how Tracy had before Bree and after Bree. That was probably one of the best ways to almost like depict grief. How it alters your whole being so much that it creates this
bifurcated identity.
Yeah. Yes. Like
right?
a whole.
Like we know tragedy changes people. So
yes. I
think as we're, as you explore the book, she starts to refer to herself as before and after Bree, like you're saying. And like this, your mom dying really, you can see the effect it has on her. The effect it has on her relationships, on how she interacts with the world.
Yes, it completely. And I feel that without that moment in the beginning, I don't know if she would have taken the journey that she took throughout the whole series, which by the way, guys, I hope this goes without saying, this is going to be littered with spoilers. Absolutely littered with spoilers for Legendborn if you have not read it yet. But if you're someone who enjoys spoilers, then hey, absolutely. But yes, I don't know. I was thinking about that and we were talking about it. if what had happened to her mom hadn't happened in the beginning and she hadn't seen that like blip of magic and that magical moment, she wouldn't have then recognized it when she was out that night, and she wouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, kind of this element of the unseen, all of a sudden
being
the
seen.
veil's lifted,
Yes.
being seen, and that's it. Now she's a pit bull with a problem.
Yeah.
She's digging in and finding.
Yes.
She will, risk her life to
get the answers
and infiltrate like a secret society, right? The Order.
Yes, the Order. I do like, especially in a first book of a series, I like when an author tells it like the names of things to me multiple times, because like I will forget.
Yeah,
I will.
And the names,
I will.
Sometimes in fantasy, the names can get really complicated, right? Because they're trying to
Yes.
invite you into the language of the story. But, this book doesn't do that. It's all very easy to kind of absorb into and fit yourself into the world. Not only just because for us, because it's local in North Carolina, but
Right.
I think it's a very understandable setting. People will understand tragedies. They understand school, whether they went to high school only or just college, like that academic setting, people generally understand. And Bree starts out as a 16-year-old in a college environment because she's radically smart.
Radically smart. I do love a female main character who's not only book smarts, but also knows how to handle herself in various serious situations.
Sets herself up in any situation.
Yes,
Right.
she knows how to kind of think quick on her feet.
Yeah, and she's willing to accept scenarios, right? Like she wasn't trained in combat like the rest of her peers in the Order, right? She
Right.
inserts herself into this Order. She's woefully unprepared. All the other, all of her other counterparts have spent their lives training.
Yes.
And she's just coming in cold turkey, and she has to learn combat in a week. Now, the mechanics of the story don't work as well if she doesn't like jump in, but I do
Right.
think like that's an important element to have in
Yes.
life as well as in your characters, right?
Right.
You just have to jump in no matter how prepared you are sometimes to just get the job done and figure things out.
And I think that is an important element that the author gives us with making sure that we know that after Bree is a different person. And before Bree may have seen all these situations completely different. And I think because I think a lot of people don't realize that tragedies mark such a pivotal moment where you almost have to think differently going forward.
Yeah. And I think one of the best parts, some of the best writing in the book is when her and her father are sitting there talking about Bree's mother.
Yes.
And it takes place in all the places, a Waffle House.
I love Waffle House.
If you're not familiar with Waffle House, they're 24/7. They've got the yellow signs. And she captures the setting really well, like some egg sizzling, the nonchalant server,
Right.
like the sounds that are happening. And then it just helps focus the conversation in a way where I think with tragedy, like there's always like a silence around in a movie, right? Like if you imagine
Right.
movies, like there's a certain silence envelopes the scene. And I feel like she ended up like helping focus that in the book that I hadn't read before.
Yeah, I haven't seen that done like that before either, where it was just, like you said, it was like a perfect movie scene setup.
Yeah, big zoom in to the big conversation.
Yeah. Where you could like feel what was happening and easily like see what like facial expressions were happening while they were talking about this. So I did really like that aspect of it. And then the Arthurian lore part of the story.
It's really great, right? Like I think as we consider like Arthurian legend of old, right? If you think about the history of it, one of the things she brings up in the acknowledgments section, the author, is that there's no necessarily canonical Arthurian legend, right?
Right, which
really surprised me because I was like, wait, I remembered reading this stuff in high school and college, and it was always Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. But as you dig in a little bit more, that was just an anthology, a collection of stories that Sir Thomas Malory just had the foresight to kind of compile for everybody.
Which I didn't know that until I was reading that and I was I was blown away because I too was like, wait, I've read this story.
Yeah.
I know this story.
Yeah. Initially a Welsh legend, and then like the French put their own spin on it. The French introduced Lancelot and Guinevere, so Love and Betrayal, of course, the French. Then it just kind of keeps going, and now we've got like this another addition into the Arthurian legend with Legendborn. I think it was a really clever riff on the tale.
It is. It's a way to kind of take something that a tale that everybody's familiar with, and spin it into a cool YA fantasy story.
Yeah. Spoiler alert coming up. Bree ends up being Arthur, the character that the whole time we're led to believe is Arthur, and really seems like apropos. Actually can't pull the sword from the stone, cannot lift Excalibur. And it turns out to be Bree, which was just a very amazing fun twist in the book.
That was a fun twist because I didn't think it was going to go any other way than how what character I thought was going to be Arthur.
Yeah, we didn't really see a lot of breaking of the molds, right? Like characters didn't necessarily break tradition or break molds in any way. So the whole story up until that point of the reveal was set up in a very almost formulaic or template form. Like the only character was kind of breaking the mold in a few ways, as much because she was coming of age as it is just the mechanics of her character. Now all of a sudden there's only one character that breaks tradition, and it's Bree, which was fun.
I really enjoyed that piece of it. When I read it, I was like, I personally enjoy when a book can surprise me because, and it's not any book's fault. I guess pattern recognition a lot when I'm reading. So like I'll see something and I'm like, okay, this is how I think the story is going to go. So I had a very clear idea. So when that was revealed, it was like,
yeah, I feel like we're not gonna get like the Lancelot piece. We're gonna get the love triangle is between
Nick, Sel, and Bree.
Sel and Cain, the part demon kid, the part demon warrior.
I gotta tell you, from like jump of seeing him, I liked his character, a lot. Which again, I know.
Well, we like dark and broody.
Yeah, we covered it's like it's the characters that you can't really guess them too well. Like Nick is a great character as well, but he is and what I expect him to be is just very sweet, like stands up for himself, knows what he's about. But Sel is very like dynamic in a very different way. He's very layered. And parts of learning about his backstory, that broke me.
Yeah, the crossroads.
Yeah,
the child of the crossroads.
Oh, that was sad. I'm not gonna lie. Like hearing kind of why, which also kind of further, goes into this whole thing of characters, just like people, have so many different layers to them, and you never really know someone's story until you take the time to sit down and learn it.
Yeah.
So I really liked that piece of it.
And some more of the magic that gets pulled in, right? Like you talked a lot about the Arthurian legend. Some of the magic that overlaps or intertwines with the Arthurian legend and the Arthurian magic is something called rootcraft. And this is not unique to the book. This is something that's comes from Africa, and it was integrated here. And there's typically you see, it has correlations. You might hear it called hoodoo.
Yes.
Yeah. So it has this pull from ancestry as one of the central pieces of the magic world.
Which was a really cool description. I know we were talking about it earlier, and I told you I liked the visual representation of it, of like the lineage of ancestors
and how she visits them.
Yes. And how she visits them through this magic was, I mean, I'm getting chills again every single time because I love seeing like that visual representation, especially of something that I'm kind of familiar with. Like I've heard of it before, like I've heard of hoodoo, but I've never heard of it being referred to as root magic.
Root magic or rootcraft.
So I learned something from it. So like kind of hearing about it, and I'm such a sucker for like any kind of magic element in fantasies.
Yeah, I thought she captured it really well, this like call to ancestors, because I feel like as as humans, how often as we grow up would we love to just have a conversation with somebody that's no longer with us?
Oh, yes.
Right. And I think this magic captures that really well, where you're visiting all the way back to understand not only your history and your current place, but like contextually, what life did your ancestors live?
Yes.
To give you hints on, you know, your path.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting to read because, I mean, there's so many times where every now and then I think about just like the path of things, you know? Like I would love to sit down with her, like with,
grandmother.
Yeah. Would love to sit down with her today and have a conversation. Have her make us a cup of tea. That would be great. So I love that was a really great fantasy element to it. Like you said, the coming of age part of it, I feel like I could read that in almost any fantasy book setting and I never get tired of it.
Yeah, right. Because I think in some ways we're always coming of age, right? If you're not reinventing yourself on a fairly normal level, like cadence, right? Like as you discover new things and as you encounter new people, like you change a little bit, you evolve.
You evolve.
So I'm with you. Like there should always be a fun coming of age element in a story, right? It doesn't have to just be fantasy, but I think it ends up hooking you as you internally understand new things and new learnings. But there's one of the lines in the book is like, they're watching some cliff jumping and they're like, oh, that's just stupid fun. But then at the end, and at that point, it's like in one of the first two chapters. And she's young, she's 16. And because she's so smart, she's in this college program at college. And then at the end, she's learned a lot. She's learned a lot more about her ancestry. She's learned a lot more about her mother's passing. She's learned how to integrate into this world. And at the end, she's kind of jumping off the cliff with it's like some of the last sentences in the book. So I thought that was a fun kind of twist on the idea.
Yeah. And it was like, I do. And it's like a circle moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And she's so different from
when she was at those first couple pages.
Yes. Her another after Bree moment. It's like, okay, so this now we're here.
After Bree becomes a good thing.
Yes. Right? It becomes a good thing. It gets this kind of rejuvenation to it. It's not just about tragedy. It did the part where she learns more about her mother's passing, like what happened there. That did break my heart because when she wanted it to be something even more than what it was, to find like a root cause of it not just being a car crash.
Yeah, she's trying to link in how it happened. Was she killed? Was it just an accident? And that kind of tension goes throughout the story. And
that was sad.
Some of the magic is like the mesmer, right? We're talking about like the erasing of memories.
That was,
and at one point she's asking to have her memory erased because she's kind of lost.
There was several and I'm such a big baby now. I'm such a big baby because there were so many moments. Like it went from not that it wasn't heartbreaking in the beginning, but I felt like it almost like started like ripping at my like heartstrings as we like dug deeper into it. I'm like, man, but I go back for more. I'm like, yes, another
please.
Thank you. What were some other aspects of the story that you enjoyed?
I like the idea of how they tracked lineage, right? And the order basically had that like giant slab down in the basement of their huge frat house. I think when you think about family trees and ancestry and how that stuff is recorded, I think a lot of that stuff can get lost. I think there's a renewed interest in it, especially with people trying to like find passports and in other places of European ancestry. But I think the idea of like tracking that lineage over the course of millennia was really cool to like have in my mind's eye about how, and what they're doing there in the story is capturing like the line of Arthur, right? And the line of the Round Table, going back 1,500 years. And it was just like, to me, that was a really cool image to have in my head of like all the different family trees and the tracking. because family trees get dense really quick.
They get
So like a 1,500-year recording was pretty amazing to imagine.
Yes, that was pretty interesting to imagine for sure. I almost forgot about that part of it. Actually, that wasn't interesting.
And it's a door, it's a portal.
Yeah,
right. So it ends up being a portal door into these tunnels that go throughout campus. So I love the idea of it as a door, also.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that part. That was a really cool part of the book. The round table itself and having Sel's magic being linked to demonic magic, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
As like kind of like a twist there. I wasn't expecting this kind of angels demons moment to be in the story, which I always welcome it. Yeah, hellhounds,
hell foxes.
And if you're a Supernatural fan, my imagination of like what a hellhound is from Supernatural now, which is absolutely terrifying.
Okay. Yeah.
Like funny show overall, but horrifying hellhounds. That's for sure.
And I think the idea of how they open up portals, right? Sel opens up portals. One of the highest ranking people from the order opens these portals around campus and like pulls demons out. I think that's something that we've heard about and witnessed. Right. And I thought that was a cool piece of the magic and a fun part of the story.
Yes. What were some things that you wanted to see more of in it?
I think they did the ancestry really well, but what was interesting is that at some point there's like a possession where the grandmother, one of Bree's lineage, is just like living inside her, right? She's like possessed.
Yes.
So I'm really curious to see how that evolves in the second book.
Especially since technically like our author is like her, like, so how does that all these different things like inside of her? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I can barely live with my own self in my mind.
The voices in your head are usually strong enough to have a whole other person and their voices in your head is
that's wild. Yeah, that's got to be a lot.
But I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
What would I like to see more of? I feel like we got pretty good equal parts like Rootcraft, Arthurian magic, Excalibur. I think I'm also curious to find out more about how like her internal magic, right? Like she can summon ether versus some of the other characters.
Oh, so yes, that's right.
There's a lot of teasers around like what she's going to be able to do there. Like as a coming of age story, she doesn't fully understand her powers yet, and she's tapping into her ancestry to understand those powers. So I think the second book feels a lot of the times like with first books, it's so much introduction, it's so much coming of age, and then the second piece or installment can be kind of disappointing. But I think we're really primed up for some very good moments in the second book.
I think so too. Yeah, I think there was good foundation work laid out. And I kind of always expect, especially when it's a series, I kind of always expect a fantasy book, the first one, to move slower at first because there has to be that buildup.
Yeah.
Where it's, especially when you have a character who's living this completely normal life, normal-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then kind of moves on. And so I'm very curious to see how it goes in the second book as well. And our rating system.
Yeah. You go first on this one.
Okay. So I rated it 5 stars. The ending sealed the deal for me.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the story. And I had, there were some parts that I kind of wrestled with. But I put it down a lot more than I usually put down a book. So, and I think that was just, it's just a me thing. So I'm going 3.5 on this one.
3.5's good.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the story and I enjoyed the writing. But there were just parts that it was just like, But I am looking forward to the second book to see how it evolves. There's some really superb writing.
Yes.
But yeah, 3.5 on my end.
Yeah. No, this was great. And next time, we're going to talk about Bloodmarked.
Yes. Well, and our next episode will be Fragile Threads of Power.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm going to fix that.
So our next installment in this series will be the Fragile Threads of Power. But we will also be covering in a future episode
Bloodmarked.
Bloodmarked.
Yes. So join us again next time. Spells from the Shelf.
Spells from the Shelf. Follow us.
Follow us, like, comment. Let us know what you guys thought of this if you read it.
Good to have you back.